Today I am here to talk to you guys all about intention setting. This is something that has been a really deeply embedded practice of mine for probably the last 5 years. And before that, I will tell you what I used to do is set New Year's resolutions. And they would never come true. I would come up with this big laundry list of things that I wanted to accomplish, but they were all really surface level. And I didn't really understand the deeper feeling that I wanted to have that came along with these changes that I was implementing. For example, one of my New Year's resolutions for over a decade was always lose 10 pounds, lose 15 pounds, but I never really understood the why behind it. It was just this very surface level thing, like I said. And when I made the shift to setting intentions, to understanding how I wanted to feel during the year, I was able to better align my actions to those things, to break down the goals into much smaller little groupings than being like, oh, I want to do this thing and then I have no reasoning or intention behind it. And by February, it just completely falls to the wayside because I don't have any clarity around why I'm doing it. And so that's my first really big tip and recommendation is when you are thinking about the intentions that you want to set for the year, why? What will you be able to have? What will you be able to feel? What will you be able to accomplish if you met this intention, right? And so when we have a why behind something, it strengthens our cause. It gets us to continue to have fueled momentum and motivation versus one day we might not feel like it. We might be stuck in an old pattern or routine or bad habits, and that's a form of self-sabotage, right? And we might say, oh, well, I'm just gonna make an excuse today. But when we have a why sitting there, like, oh, I wanna lose these 10 pounds so that I'm better able to run around with my kids. I have more energy. I feel more confident going to whatever event I want to go to because I feel really good in my clothes. Whatever the case may be, when we have a why behind it, it completely shifts the energy that we're willing to put into that change. And so taking a second, even now, and writing down what the intentions are that you want to set for the year. And if you've never done that before, let's talk a little bit more about how you can do that. But grab a pen and paper and let's get some clarity here, and then we'll talk a little bit more about self-sabotage. So if you have your pen and paper out, we're gonna get clear on a few things. The first one is I want you to really allow yourself to dream. Dream big. What do you want to accomplish or experience in 2024? What are the things that you want to call into your life? How do you want to feel next year? For me, coming into this year, like feeling peace was one of my biggest intentions. And I can say that with a lot of hard work and a lot of intention and a lot of change to how I used to live my life versus how I live it now, I really do feel at the end of 2023 that I live in such a place of peace. And it's because I've taken things off my calendar. I've said no. I've owned my value way more than I ever did before. Whereas I was always trying to go out of my way to like people please and make everybody else happy in the past. And so it took a lot of deep work, but the overarching intention was to feel peace. And so looking at, like I said, how you want to feel, what you want to call in, what experiences you want to have, those things. What are you dreaming of? That's like the big question that you want to put into your journal as number one. So what are you dreaming of? The next question that I want you to write down, and you can pause this in between if you want, you can write them all down and then put, some calming, relaxing music on and do this in your own time. But the next thing that I want you to write down is what are the biggest challenges that got in my way in 2023, so this past year, that held me back from accomplishing the feeling, accomplishing the success, accomplishing the things that I wanted to call into my life. Where did things go awry? And that's not to say that you're not meant to have challenges, because you are. Things are supposed to feel a little bit scary. Things are supposed to feel a little bit different, but in a way that's exciting, right? And so looking at the past, the challenges that you have faced, what you've gone through, and how you want to take that as an opportunity to make it into a lesson going forward into 2024. What can you take away? What pitfalls have you noticed yourself fall into? What behaviors of your own do you notice that are patterns that you don't want to fall into again this year? And then based on your intentions for 2024, your dreams for 2024, that like idea of where you want to go, plus the potential roadblocks, the things that have come up in the past, in this last year, or maybe even before that, what are the intentions that you want to set for this year going forward to get you to where you want to be? What are you committed to working through to be able to get you on the other side? So I'm going to go back to that example for myself of wanting peace, right? I had to be committed to looking at, why do I not feel at peace right now? What is holding me back from feeling peace in my life? A schedule that was way too busy. Overcommitting myself to social things that I didn't necessarily want to go to. Overcommitting myself to boards and committees and all of these things that I maybe didn't necessarily want to be a part of. Not giving enough attention, at least at what I felt like, to my kids and my home life. And so having a good hard look at that, looking at why I fell into those old patterns of behavior, why I was always looking for that external validation. That was hard work that I had to work through. So you have to be able to look at right now in your journal, what is the work I'm committed to doing this year so that I can get to the other side of that. Otherwise, we stay in those old patterns of behavior, and that is exactly what self-sabotage is, because it's comfortable, it's easy, it's convenient, and it hinders us from ever getting to the other side of our goals. So the next thing I want you to write down after you've looked at that commitment to growth is really, what are the opportunities where you can take action towards this growth, towards this intention that you're setting? And so, again, I'll use my own example of this last year. Stopping coaching was a big one for me. Saying no to things was a big thing for me. Taking things off of my calendar, scheduling in more time for rest and fun and pleasure. Like, all of those things were very uncomfortable at first, but they were part of the process to get me to how I have this feeling of internal peace now. And so whatever it is, that feeling that you're going for, that thing that you want to accomplish, what are the opportunities and the action steps that you can take? And just take a second to jot them all down. You don't have to have 100% clarity or know exactly what you're going to do, but having a little outline is going to be helpful. And then the last thing that I will say is, make a note to yourself on this piece of paper of who your support system can be. What do you want that to look like? Remember that you don't have to, nor should you do this alone. And so every time that I was questioning myself, I shared, of course, with my husband, this is my intention for this year, and I want you to hold me accountable to it. And so I would do check-ins with him where I would say, hey, like, what do you think about this? Like, am I going to overwhelm myself with this? I also have a coach of my own that I share those types of things with. And so find yourself a support system. Write down a few names of who those people can be, because when you say your intentions, your goals, your dreams out loud, you're much more likely to actually follow through with them, because there's somebody on the other end of that who's going to hold you accountable when you find yourself making excuses or falling back into old patterns of behavior. So let's now go into, why do so many of us set these, like I said, for me, for so many years, resolutions, and then not follow through with them? And I think that what I mentioned at the beginning with them being so surface level is a big part of it, right? When we have these things that are so surface level and high touch, but we don't have a why behind them, it can be really hard to follow through. But then there are also these other patterns of self-sabotage that none of us really get taught about unless we're deeply ingrained in doing this type of spiritual personal growth type work. And they are so many of them. There is making excuses. That is actually a form of self-sabotage. So if you're making an excuse, basically what you're saying is that you are prioritizing that excuse over your ultimate ambition. And I know that that sounds really heavy and like kind of sad, but the reality is that's the truth. You're prioritizing that excuse. And especially if you keep prioritizing that excuse over and over and over again, you have to look inward and ask yourself, why is this not important to me? Why is this not a priority to me, even though I say that I really want the end result? Another type of self-sabotage is perfectionism. We get so caught up in every little detail, being perfect. I know I struggled with this for so many years that it holds us back from starting at all. Fear of failure. We don't want anybody else to think that we haven't done things right. And so rather than looking at the failure as feedback, we look at it as this opportunity for people to judge us. And so we don't set out to make any change. Instead, we just stay the same. There are so many different forms. Even comfort eating and emotional eating is a form of self-sabotage, where because you are so stressed, because you are so busy, because you're so emotionally taxed, you turn to food as comfort and you're sabotaging your goals with your physical health and well-being. And so these are just examples that I want to give you guys, because there, like I said, are so many different ones. And because I think that this can really be a catalyst when you understand which one of these forms of self-sabotage speaks to you, I am going to do a free masterclass that is going to be on December 27th, where you can come and learn about the type of self-sabotage that's been holding you back and how to break free from that so you can actually follow through with your goals this New Year's. And so I hope that you guys will come and join us. Come watch the free masterclass, sign up with the link, and really learn about what's going on with your subconscious mind. When you understand that, you can actually create action items on your list of like, oh, every morning I snooze my alarm. I do that because every time I do that, I'm making an excuse. Why am I making an excuse? So we're gonna go really deep into that type of work so you have better clarity on your own mental state and you don't fall into the same pit as you have in the past with New Year's resolutions, and you can really make yourself proud this year. So I will hope to see all of you guys there. Thank you so much for watching this YouTube. If you like this, you can follow our channel, subscribe, rate, review, and we will see you in the next video.